我不知道我的家乡在哪里，是奶奶让我的生命有了尊严。我是一个黑人，黑色的上海人。
This boy has now graduated from college. 25 years ago, his grandmother adopted him and generously gave him property. But when his grandmother was deceived by her own biological children, losing almost all her assets and left homeless, it was this boy who took her in. What exactly happened between them? Did this child ever find his biological parents? Let's step into this heartwarming story. On the hot night of August 8, 2000, 60-year-old Zhu Shuibao, living in Shanghai, went out as usual to buy vegetables at the market. As she passed by a patch of grass near her home, a faint crying sound caught her attention. Following the sound, she found a discarded baby lying in the grass, covered in dirt, with mosquitoes buzzing around. She hurried over and gently picked up the poor little life. It was a boy. She noticed a piece of paper next to him that read, "Born on August 1st. Zhu Shuibao immediately understood that this child had been abandoned by his parents. She couldn't ignore the small life in front of her. She decided right then to take the baby home, care for him, and later see if she could find his parents. Her husband was shocked when he saw Zhu Shuibao return with a child. Under their careful care, the baby grew up healthy, but there was something strange. His skin color was much darker than other children. Zhu Shuibao worried that the child might be sick, so she took him to the hospital for an examination. To her surprise, the doctor told her that the baby was mixed race, half Asian, half African. After a period of searching and inquiring everywhere, Zhu Shuibao still couldn't find the boy's parents. Zhu Shuibao and her husband had a daughter and 2 sons, all of whom had married and started their own families. She and her youngest son's family were living together in their cramped old house. Her youngest son and his wife had been married for 3 years, but had no children of their own. Zhu Shuibao thought that perhaps they could adopt this child. She suggested that her son and his wife become the child's adoptive parents while she would help take care of him. Her youngest son and his wife were not initially enthusiastic about adoption, but Zhu Shuibao insisted, saying, "Let me take care of him. I will look after him well." Eventually, they agreed. Thus, the child stayed with the Zhu family and was given the name Zhu Junlong, meaning dragon. A year later, Zhu Junlong's adoptive parents had their own biological child, whom they named Zhu Juanhu, meaning tiger. The dragon and the tiger became brothers. Zhu Shuibao loved Zhu Junlong dearly, treating him as if he were her own grandson. She always said that money was just a material thing, but life was far more precious. At that time, the Zhu family's financial situation wasn't great. Zhu Shuibao and her husband were retired and no longer working, relying only on their small pensions to support their daily needs. Her youngest son, Junlong's adoptive father, also had a modest income and his own biological children to care for. But Zhu Shuibao, even though money was tight, insisted on raising the child. She was willing to cut back on her own expenses to care for him. Sometimes, they didn't even have enough money for full formula and had to dilute it with rice porridge to fill the baby's stomach. Under Zhu Shuibao's loving care, Zhu Junlong slowly grew up. She told Zhu Junlong's little brother, "When someone asks why you and your brother look so different, just tell them that we were both adopted. One was picked up on the street, and the other was found in a pile of grass."
我和我哥哥不一样的地方地，我哥哥在马路上地，我在草堆里地。
Soon, it was time for Zhu Junlong to start school. However, he didn't have a birth certificate or household registration, which was a serious problem. The school was unwilling to accept him. Zhu Shuibao was extremely anxious and went to great lengths to resolve the issue. At that time, the story of Zhu Shuibao and the black child started to get media attention, which sparked a lot of interest. This caught the attention of the local government, and as a result, Zhu Junlong was given special treatment. He was enrolled in a nearby school and had all his tuition fees waived. Additionally, he received a small monthly allowance. Zhu Junlong was naturally a mischievous child. At school, he was a headache for his teachers, who considered him a troublemaker. Because he was always causing disruptions, Zhu Shuibao frequently received complaints from the neighbors. Despite this, Zhu Shuibao was incredibly patient with him. She gradually taught him how to properly interact with teachers, classmates, and neighbors. Over time, Zhu Junlong learned to handle relationships better, and his circle of friends began to grow. Of course, Zhu Shuibao also had a habit of nagging, which, like most children, Zhu Junlong found annoying. He also showed a unique talent for sports and often won first place in school competitions. A black English teacher working in China learned about Zhu Junlong's story through the media. He was so enthusiastic that he reached out to Zhu Shuibao and offered to tutor Zhu Junlong in English for free.
We know that the Chinese people are helping, right? So I did want to check and see if there were any black people helping.
What made the situation even more joyful was that, after persistent efforts from Zhu Shuibao, she was finally able to get Zhu Junlong's household registration. He officially obtained Chinese citizenship, and not just any, he got a Shanghai household registration. It took 15 years, but Zhu Junlong finally had legal status in China. It's worth noting that obtaining a household registration in cities like Shanghai and Beijing is very difficult and precious, as these cities offer the best welfare and opportunities in the country. In 2021, at the age of 21, Zhu Junlong successfully passed the college entrance exam and was admitted to university. Zhu Shuibao was overjoyed and deeply proud. The child she had raised with such care had finally grown up. She said, "I picked up this little black child, and I have taken responsibility for him from the start, raising him, helping him become independent. Life with him was simple, but it was happy. Now that I am old, my biggest wish is for Zhu Junlong to study well and, if possible, make a contribution to society." You might think that this touching adoption story would end here, but there's a surprising twist that adds an unexpected turn to the tale. In 2007, Zhu Shuibao's old house was demolished as part of a government redevelopment project. In compensation, her family was allocated 6 newly built homes. Zhu Shuibao and her husband each received 2 properties, and her 2 sons each got 2 as well. However, according to the village's regulations, married daughters who had moved away were excluded from receiving any property. So, their daughter didn't get any. Out of generosity, Zhu Shuibao gave one of her 2 properties to Zhu Junlong, the child she had no blood relation to, and kept only one for herself. In 2016, Zhu Shuibao discovered that her house was leaking and in poor condition. She decided to sell it and buy a new one, choosing a property closer to Zhu Junlong so she could see him more often. After selling the old house, she and her husband temporarily moved into Zhu Junlong's home. But then, an unfortunate turn of events occurred. After selling the house, Zhu Shuibao received $350,000 from the sale, and she deposited this money into her daughter's account for safekeeping. However, when the time came to finalize the purchase of the new house, she discovered that only $70,000 was left in the account. It turned out that her eldest son and daughter had secretly taken the money. They claimed they had accumulated massive debts and decided to dip into their mother's house sale proceeds to solve their problems. When Zhu Shuibao confronted them, her eldest son explained that he would inherit the family's estate anyway, so taking the money now was just a way to access it early. Zhu Shuibao felt both furious and helpless. There was nothing she could do but accept this cruel reality. Now, with no home of her own, Zhu Shuibao could only continue living with her grandson in a small 1-bedroom apartment. Luckily, Zhu Junlong was very filial. He reassured her, saying, "This house was originally given to me by my grandparents, and I'm happy to live here with them. Once I make money, I'll make sure to take better care of you and Grandpa." It was an odd and ironic situation. Her own biological children had betrayed and robbed her, while the child she had adopted, with no blood ties, stayed by her side and supported her. Now, Zhu Junlong has grown to 1.85 meters tall, and when he stands next to his grandmother, she looks quite small in comparison. He loves playing video games and enjoys cooking. He says, "My biggest dream is to become a chef. When you cook, if you're in a bad mood, the food won't turn out well. But if you're happy, the food will taste better." Cooking is a way to express your emotions. Zhu Junlong's university is not far from home, only a 2-hour ride. During the holidays, he always makes time to come back and visit his grandparents, taking care of them. One day, Junlong said seriously to his grandmother, "When I make money, I'll buy a villa for you to live in. You'll stay there, and when I come home from work, I'll cook for you. After we eat, I'll take you out to walk around, get some sunshine." Zhu Shuibao replied, "As long as you come to see me in the future, that's all I need. The most important thing is that you live a good life." Someone once asked Zhu Shuibao, if his biological parents came looking for him, would you be willing to let him go? Zhu Shuibao responded, "That would be wonderful. If that happens, our job will be done. We would send him to them with peace of mind."
我们心里都高兴，因为小孩给他们养到这么大这么长，我放心了。真的给他亲生父母，我要原原本本把我送到他们身。
This truly is an incredibly touching story. A slight downside is that Zhu Junlong currently does not have any public social media accounts, and in the past 2 years, neither he nor his grandmother has participated in any media interviews. We are not updated on their latest developments. Please subscribe to my channel, and if there are any new updates about them, I will continue to share this touching story.